One of the symptoms of spiritual awakening, especially in this day and age, as more and more light streams down onto earth and causes more light to be engulfed within people, what you will notice is those who are on the spiritual path and really working on their own healing and evolution will process things in a completely different way to those who are not on the path or not aware or not open to other ways of thinking and being. And the division between the two worlds will feel more and more apart. As more and more light comes in, the more you are doing such deep healing work. And for those who are not doing the work consciously, they will deal with life and things and people, so that means deal with you as well, in a way that is not as aware, conscious, integrated, and at times even respectful or even sensible. You'll notice the division more and more and more. So we come to the point where it feels like there are these two different worlds in a way. And you've got one foot in one world, the higher reality, and one foot in the lower. And sometimes you're way more in the high. Perhaps that's when a lot of light has come in, or you're feeling great and you've done the work and you've integrated the energy and you're feeling really light and vibrant and inspired. Or your foot may be more in the lower world, even just for the fact that we have to live in it and go to work and be around people and in environments, or because your lower density is rising up. And the more it rises up, the more uncomfortable you feel and the more you might act out. Even if you're, usually quite a conscious person, it does not mean that anybody's perfect. You can act out, you can react, and you can go through a whole host of feelings like anybody else. The difference is that when you're on the awakening path, you're moving more and more up the spiral consciously. As you go through each layer and heal through each layer, you become more spiritually aware and more adjusted to the light frequencies and conscious that something really big is going on. And that helps you connect with your soul on a deeper, higher level and enact the mission that you've come here to do. Those who are acting out in an unconscious way and that are not really aware of what's happening on a higher level, all sorts of things can happen. There's no right and wrong, and everyone is here for a reason and doing their part. But the more and more that you awaken and go next level, the harder it can be at times to be around people who are not as aware or who are in reactive mode, and it can cause a whole lot of issues to take place, such as if you're quite sensitive and empathic, you're taking on the energy and it all becomes too much. Or you just can no longer tolerate that old, outdated way of being. It's just nastiness and lack of accountability that some people are displaying. And sometimes there's a kind of acting out between the two. So let's say you're doing the work, you're really trying to go next level, but all your stuff's coming up and you're getting frustrated and irritated and you just can't stand doing your job any longer. And so you blow up at someone at work, or you get agitated while driving and honk your horn at someone. What tends to happen is people will play off each other. So whatever is coming up to the surface for you will be acted out in the people around you. So let's say, for example, a whole bunch of light has come in and some of your old density has risen up because it's the next layer for you to work through and release. And what comes up for you is, let's say, it's not feeling seen and heard. And so because this is in your consciousness and kind of hovering around you and something you need to learn and work through, it's kind of like it just hangs around your energy field. And then when you interact with someone, whether it's on the phone or in person, something will come up to mirror back that very item that you're working on. So for example, if it's on the phone, it could be just something simple like someone's talking over you, like you want to make a booking and they're not listening to what you're saying. They hang up and you didn't get to say what you wanted to say and you just get so frustrated. And if you just settle back, unwind, you'll have the aha moment. It's because I'm being shown that I'm not being heard. And so once you realize it and awaken to it, and maybe, you know, as you're walking around, it's in your consciousness, you're working through it, whatever other little things will play out, it will play out more if you're not listening, or if it's a really big issue that you still need to work through, or there's various layers of it, or it will shift really quickly if you're on the ball and you're like, I got it, and it's not too deep, and then off you go. So that's how it works. And so people are mirroring to each other. So if it's an unconscious person to another unconscious person that's not aware, it can just get quite ugly at times when it's more extreme. And we see that play out in the, you know, political, social sphere, on social media and so on. And if it's between someone who's a bit more aware and someone not, then it can interplay in really interesting ways. The person who is not as aware might feel and sense the person who is growing their spiritual light. They sense that light, and even if they're not consciously aware of it on some level, and it just activates their negative traits and feelings. So they might either, you know, think certain things like jealousy, annoyance, irritation at you, or it will be acted out in some way. And then with you, you're sensitive and you don't know what's going on, as in you're just an innocent person talking to this person and wondering why they're acting a bit strange, right? And you might pick up on their energy. Now, if you're not quite conscious of what's going on, you'll pick up on it, and then you might start feeling really shitty about yourself and not even know why. If you're more conscious and aware, or a bit more intuitive, you might feel on some level something about you is irritating them, or you might feel their negative energy, or on an even higher level, you will know what it is. So you might sense, for example, their anger at you, but you will know and understand that really that goes back to them, right? It still might bother you if you haven't sort of protected yourself and you're taking on the energy. And then you've got to work through that, or else that can have a whole ripple effect on its own. So you might go out in the world or back home and just like be a bit angry and yell at your kids, for example. That is an example of how it works. So see how it just rolls from one to another. So what happens is when you're on the awakening journey and you're really valuing your sense of spirituality, and it's still difficult to be out there in the world, you might more and more find yourself reclusing because you're finding people difficult to deal with. And that is because not only are you rising higher and consciously working with the light, or allowing it to do whatever it's doing. You don't have to always know everything. That's okay. It's just having the intention, or that knowing that you're a soul and that we're having a spiritual experience here on earth. And you might find it hard to be around people if you're just taking on too much of that energy, or you're just finding that the way that they just are, or even just their frequency alone, even if they're just a decent person. Someone can be a really nice person, they're not open spiritually, and they're just going through some stuff, but that can be enough to throw you off, because not only are you sensitive, but you're dealing with your own stuff and the whole world, and just all of this change and this whole massive awakening process that is happening. And, you know, so sometimes even just like a nice person with a bit of stuff is too much to deal with. And then there's the other level where you get the reactors, or just, you know, that really off energy with certain people or environments. It's natural to feel like there is just this massive gap between where you are and another person is, or losing interest in being around people or certain people, or just feeling like you need to step back. And when you feel like that, just nurture and honor that, and take that time to really work on yourself. Take as much time as you need, and just be conscious that sometimes, maybe I'm getting into the habit of reclusing too much, and I do need to be around people a bit and so on. And then just, you know, take that one step at a time. So the main message that I really want to convey here is that as you're going through the stages of awakening, just be aware of how you are impacted by the energy of other people, and how you will find shifts in your awareness and tolerance of people's situations and energies. And you will also go through periods where it feels like the two worlds are so far apart, and then you'll go through times where everything feels way more integrated, and, you know, you're just really enjoying all aspects of life.